Welcome to the Emerging Lawyer series at the Coffee Conversation Show, powered by the Emerging India Forum TIF and a tech partner, Prime Infotech Solution. Theme is Beyond the Black Rope, Decoding the Legal Landscape. We're at AWFIS co-working space, and we have with us Anand Narayan, Legal Manager at NSE India. He has been a front row seat in its transformation, with over 8 years of experience spanning securities law, capital markets, dispute resolution, corporate governance, and data privacy. Anand has advised some of the biggest names in the industry, from Aditya Birla Group to Anand Rathi Group. But what does it take to be an in-house counsel at a nationally significant financial institution like the NSE? How does one bridge the gap between traditional litigation and corporate strategy? And what are the key legal challenges shaping the financial markets today? Join us as we dive into Anand's fascinating career, his take on the evolving legal landscape, and some light-hearted insights into the man behind the lawyer. So, welcome Anand to today's coffee conversation.
Thank you for having me here. Looking forward for this conversation.
Wow. So, let me explain you the flow. It's divided into 3 rounds: professional journey round, personal journey round, and there is a surprise, the rapid fire round,
Okay.
for which you have to be witty, fun, and quick. But don't worry, you're getting a gift also.
Okay.
Everyone is talking about AI, legal
Okay.
AI 101, which is autographed.
Yeah.
But I know you will crack it and take it home. So, friends, I'm Lion Amir Virani, host at Coffee Conversation and a legal tech evangelist at Prime Infotech Solution, author of 15 books. We help law firms, corporate legal, startups, and SMEs with world-class technology, software licensing, and tech training solutions. So, my first question, Anand, what inspired to pursue law, and was there ever a moment when you considered a different career?
So to begin with, when I was growing up, my father, who used to work in bank, but he was very active in all those social activity and seeking justice. And when he had actually during that time, the then Chief Justice of India, P.N. Bhagwati, he had actually written a letter to him telling him about the deplorable conditions of inmates who were there in the one of the mental hospitals in the undivided Bihar. Now it is in Ranchi. So, and that letter got converted into PIL, and Mr. Bhagwati had called both the court, in fact, had called both the petitioner. One of them was my father. So when I saw all this thing, and I saw that was a reported case, Rakesh Chand Narayan versus State of Bihar, and in fact, seeing all of this thing, I got inclined towards law, and seeing how using law you can actually fight for social justice and you can bring a change in the society. So that was my first inspiration to do law. And then I saw my personality. My personality was more where I could do more analytical thinking, where I could basically fight for the cause which I'm standing for. And I can see that, I always had that logical reasoning ability. And that's how I always, I wanted to pursue law. And then I gave my common law admission test and other entrance exam, and I got through national schools. Yeah. So
Wow.
this has been my journey.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, Anand, having worked with both financial giants and manufacturing companies, how do legal strategies differ across industries?
Yeah, so I've worked with I started as a litigator, then I worked with 2 in-house companies. I was part of Anand Rathi Group, then Aditya Birla, and now with NSE. So every industry has different set of laws. So for example, manufacturing, the set of laws are different. For the company where currently I am, the set of laws are very different. I see largely, so for example, if you see manufacturing, the laws do not keep changing, but you have a very larger role in the game. So you would need to do legal audit compliances when you're working, especially in manufacturing. And now when you move to fintech, the laws are very dynamic, so you have to be updated. You have to know the laws, and you have to also know the intent and the purpose of the law. Because at so especially at NSE, where it's one of the front market line regulator, you need to understand the intent and the purpose of the law, and that's how you would be able to advise your internal department, your stakeholders well. Yeah.
Wow. So Anand, you've handled securities laws, ESG compliance, and regulatory frameworks. Which area of law do you think is evolving the fastest in India?
Yeah. So all three are actually evolving, but every three of this securities law and ESG and regulatory frameworks, all three are growing at its own pace. I'll just first talk about ESG, which is environment, social, and government governance. So these ESG standards are not only relevant in India. In fact, it is relevant across the globe. Many of the regulations are revolving around ESG. We have Carbon Border Adjustment Act, CBAM, and other things. So ESG is something which is, relevant across globe. You have companies which are very keen to hire people who are, who are aware of ESG, the disclosures regarding ESG. And securities law, again, you see that, largely we are, there are so many listed entities, there are so many market intermediaries. You need to, the securities law is evolving on a rapid basis, and it keeps changing. The nitty-gritties keeps changing also. So as I said, you have to stay updated in securities law, and every day something new will come up, and so you need to sort of to regulate market or to advise your client properly, you would need to stay updated with securities law as well. So this is my take on the question.
Wow. So thank you for leading me into the next question. During our warm-up conversation, you shared about the Securities Tribunal. So tell us about what the Securities Tribunal is all about, and how has your journey experience been over there?
So, Securities Appellate Tribunal is a forum where orders of three regulators, SEBI, IRDA, and pension regulator, all the three orders are challenged before Securities Appellate Tribunal. So if you see the importance, if I tell you the importance of Securities Appellate Tribunal, there's only one bench currently in India, which is in Bombay. There was in fact a proposal to have multiple benches. So you have some niche lawyer who are working there in that particular area. And just to add another importance of Securities Appellate Tribunal, the orders of Securities Appellate Tribunal are challenged directly before Supreme Court. So this is the importance which Securities Appellate Tribunal has.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Anand, what's the most complex case or regulatory issue you have had to tackle in your career so far, and how did you navigate it?
Yeah, so without delving deep into the issue, there have been issues with respect to insider trading, where when you sort of go through the regulation, there are multiple ways through which people or the intermediaries can sort of indulge in insider trading. So I think insider trading and PFUT violation, which is the fraud regulations, prohibition of unfair trade practice. So these two regulations largely have a lot of dynamics in it. And of course, when I was in Aditya Birla Group, I used to do a lot of ESG related, I used to see a lot of ESG related disclosures, which are evolving at a very rapid state. So you would need to sort of be updated again with ESG norm, not only at India, but what is happening across the globe. So I would say these were the largely cases which are, challenging, and at the same time, it's equally rewarding if you go through these laws.
Wow. So Anand, the intersection of technology and law is expanding, especially with fintech regulations. How do you see AI and blockchain influencing corporate law, or securities law, or ESG, or regulatory law?
Yeah. So that's a very good question. So you, in fact, Virani, you have been at the corner store where you have been sort of, dealing with a lot of technology. So as I was telling you about ESG disclosures, the disclosures which a listed entity has to make to stock exchanges, and especially, let's say, when a company which wants to get listed, right? So, for example, filing DRHP and other prospectus with the SEBI, or let's say if we are talking about any global market, then the securities SEC, the securities capital market regulator in US. So I've seen people are now sort of heavily using AI. You know, they just want to do away with the mundane job and the clerical jobs, basically, which where there is hardly any application of mind. So now, in fact, a lot of companies and a lot of regulators are using AI technology to sort of vet those bulky documents, because if there is any human review, there is a possibility of an error, but if there is an AI with a set code in it, so I've seen that that has in fact reduced the dependency on human being, and it has actually, now the technologies are growing. But of course, having said that, I would say that the certain amount of human element, human mind will always be there in our profession.
Yeah, beautiful. So Anand, what are some misconceptions people have about corporate lawyers that you would like to clear up?
So on a lighter note, if I may say, not all corporate law makes are rich. So that's on a lighter note. But of course, there are many myths about that corporate law know everything. They know all the laws, especially in in-house counsel. So in fact, my understanding is that all lawyers should be very clear with the first principles of law. Because as we are seeing a trend, the market is dynamic and it is rapidly changing. The scenarios, the circumstances are changing. So it is not always true that all your lawyers will know everything under the sun. In fact, we are being sort of briefed by the client, and we get to know more about different areas of law and practices through our clients, through our internal stakeholders. So that is one area where I think, there's a heavy misconception about corporate lawyers. Yeah.
Wow. So Anand, who has influenced you professionally from the corporate legal world?
To answer this, I think there's no one single person who would have influenced me. One single, like there are multiple peoples in my journey. So starting from, let's say, when I started my journey, then my first boss, my first mentor, then as I slowly progressed towards the towards my journey, there were my colleagues. In fact, there were some of my juniors with whom I have sort of interacted, and I've learned. So, and in fact, when I was in just a law student, I was inspired by my teachers there. And then when when I started, I told my parents that I wanted to do law. So my parents were a big influencer. So everyone had a role in my journey so far. So that's about it.
Wow. So let's come to your present role, legal manager at NSE. What excites you the most being an in-house counsel at NSE? Because it is a big financial institution dealing with a lot of stakeholders.
Yeah. So especially first I'll address the in-house counsel part. So in-house counsel, as opposed to litigation lawyers, would have more skin in the game. They would be involved in strategy making. They would be involved in, taking business decisions. So in-house counsels are not only limited to, representing the client before court or drafting contract. They are more into strategy roles now. So the role of GC has also evolved over the, if you would have seen. And particularly about talking about the current role, as NSE is the front market regulator, so it has a lot of, the speed at which it has to act is something which cannot be even expressed. So you have to be on your toes every time, and each day is challenging and as well as rewarding.
Beautiful. So, Anand, what are some of the biggest legal challenges faced by stock exchanges today in India?
So again, stock exchanges are a regulator, and there are so many regulated entities, and the manner in which the regulated entity can, explore different ways to sort of, if I would have put it in this way, that put it like they can explore different way to bypass the law, right? So a regulator always has to be on its foot or on its toe, sort of to make sure that they evolve their technology, as we were talking about technology in the earlier part. So they have to upgrade their technology. They have to sort of improve enhance their surveillance system, and so these are some of the challenges which are currently being faced by stock exchanges, and a lot has already been done, and you see circulars, policies, new laws coming up every then and now. Yeah.
Wow. So, Anand, how has technology helped you and which legal tech tool has impacted your work?
Yeah, so I've been doing both litigation and contract management in all my roles. So, in fact, the litigation management tools, there are few which has actually helped us, reducing our, work which we lose because of some clerical work, right? So it reduces our time, and also it helps us managing all the, because as an in-house counsel, you are not only appearing in one court, or you are not only interested, you need to have a pan-India view. So these tools really help us to see as to how, how our cases are there across India. Do we get alert? And again, talking about contract management also, there are thousands of contracts which are executed. So you need to have a depository for that. You also need to know, so just to add to it, so for example, uh, if you sort of execute a contract, right? Post execution also you need to track as to what are your obligations after in the contract. So there are tools which actually help you to navigate those and advise your internal stakeholder. Yeah.
So, you have used which tools during your different journeys? So, it can help us.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Sure. So I've been primarily I've used when I was in Aditya Birla Group, I used to use EY compliance tool for all those factory audits and compliances. Then in litigation I've used ProVakil. They used to help us managing our litigation documents, pleadings, and all those alerts. And I've also used lawyer service. So these are just to name few, but then the other technologies also, especially Virani, you would know that now there are a lot of chatbots which people have, different companies have sort of adapted in their functioning. Particularly, I'm talking about legal. This help the legal function as well, and also the other internal departments of the company. Yeah.
So, my last question, for law students aspiring to enter financial and securities law, what essential skills should they develop according to you?
So that's a very good question. In fact, I'll just take some time to. So law students or aspiring law students should always, while statutes and barracks are very, very important, but they should also be reading news about all those financial laws and be abreast with what is happening in the market, right? That is one way where you will always be updated. So whenever you are sort of working anywhere, interning, you can actually take that opportunity to sort of brief your seniors on different matters, and that actually prepares you for your career ahead. Yeah.
Wow. So, let's go to the next round and understand Anand as a person. Tell us about your family and your formative years.
Yeah, so basically my father was a bank, used to work in bank, and my mother was working as a school teacher. And I have basically stayed in different cities: Delhi, Calcutta, and now in Bombay. So I did most of my schooling from Calcutta, and I started my professional journey in Bombay. Yeah.
Wow. So, let's go back to your college days, National Law University, Odisha. What are your experiences, memories, and how did it help you to shape your legal career?
I think National Law School, Odisha has made me whatever I am today. So I'm very grateful, and in fact, I was mentored by one of the best core faculty teachers there. And it was not only about academics; it actually helped me, doing a lot of extracurricular activity like debating, participating in moot court competition. I was also part of the Legal Aid Society. I was heading it for 2 years. I was the convener and then the mentor. So it in fact shaped me in a it has a very impactful impact on me.
Wow. So, Anand, what's one hobby or activity that helps you disconnect from the legal world?
I think two. One would be music, and the other one would be I keep writing. So that is something where I reflect upon my day-to-day work, and I keep writing. And
Okay, so you're doing journaling.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us about what is journaling and how it has helped you to maintain your work-life balance?
Yeah.
Because that's a very important activity.
Yeah.
Yes, I've also been doing it, but in disconnected way.
So of course, sometimes it gets disconnected, but most of the time, so it actually frees me up, and also it sort of helped me to, in fact, stay updated with professional life also. So I don't see there is any difference between personal and professional life. I in fact write about anything, and it helps me, bring peace to my inner energy. So I think that's how I go about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So little more on this journaling thing.
Yeah.
How did you get into journaling, and what differences did you see before you were not into journaling and now you started doing journaling?
Yeah. So basically, I started to basically enhance my writing skills, and I started it when I was in 12th. And then as in when I started writing it, it actually developed my mind, and also it increased my thinking ability. So my thinking ability enhanced, and I could do more of logical deduction from, any case paper I study, any brief which I study. So that's how it helped me.
Wow. So let's go to your next music. What kind of music you like listening, and what's on your Spotify playlist?
Yeah. So music would be any classical or any Bollywood music, and I don't have a fixed set of playlist. I listen to random musics also. It is basically when I'm going on my way to office and when I return back, and especially whenever I get time. Yeah, that's all.
Wow. So Anand, you said that you have worked in different cities, or with your father, you have traveled to different cities, Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, or maybe some more.
Yeah.
Which one has been your favorite city and why?
Okay, so that's a very tricky question, but I know. Part of me, I've stayed in Delhi, I've stayed in Calcutta actually. So I love Calcutta food, but I would say I'll pick Bombay, because Bombay, I started my journey there and in Bombay, so it has impacted my personal and professional life immensely.
Wow. Yeah. So Anand, what's one book or movie that has impacted you professionally, and why?
So if I pick a book, it would be Roses in December. So that was one book which I did read before starting my law journey. It is written by Mr. MC Chagla. In fact, his son, Mr. Iqbal Chagla, I had briefed him in one of the matter, the late Mr. Iqbal Chagla. So this is a book which I would definitely recommend to all the people to read. And then there would be many web series which keep coming in, and but I would always stick to books which actually where you sort of pick up a lot of things.
So some more light into this book.
Yeah, so Roses in December is basically a book, autobiography of Mr. MC Chagla. He was also the first Chief Justice of Bombay High Court. So it will tell you about, and he was also into administrative and political space. So it will tell you about his life, what inspired him to do law and him to sort of join public life, and also it will sort of give you a different aspect of a lawyer's life, right? It is not only about law, as we have been talking about in this podcast. Law is not, it's about logic. So even if someone who has not done law can possibly be one of the most best orator or best debater in any forum. So I would highly recommend anyone to read this book. Yeah, even if you're not a lawyer.
That's wonderful. Okay, what's one thing people are always surprised to learn about you?
I think the one thing would be my ability to sort of adapt in different circumstances. I have navigated different cities. I have navigated different sectors. So I was in fintech, then I came to FMCG manufacturing, and then I again came to financial sector. So I think that is something which some people still think about as to why I navigated so many industries. But that's a part of my life, and I think I've taken some decisions based on that. Yeah,
that's wonderful. Okay, Anand, suppose you had 1 week free with no deadlines, a corporate legal work, with no gadgets. How would you spend it?
So I would basically travel and explore, and I would like to meet new people, and I will travel across. So I've also been solo travelers. So I have done some solo traveling to different parts of India. Now, in fact, I don't get a lot of time, but if I have a week off, I would definitely like to travel. It actually also helps me in my professional journey also, right? I keep meeting people of different industry, and different culture, and that helps and impact you in a very positive manner.
Wow. Yeah. So for 2025, what solo trip would you like to plan, and where and why?
So I would like to plan a solo trip to basically Kerala. I think I haven't been there, and the lakes over there and all this thing which I've been reading about, it's very good. So I think I'll plan a trip there. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So my last one is a googly one. Describe Anand in one line.
Persistence.
Wow.
If I would use one word.
Wow. So let's go to the next round and have some fun. The rapid fire round. Okay. Your go-to comfort food.
I think dal chawal.
Wow. Your favorite color.
Red.
Contracts or courtroom battles?
I'll always go for courtroom battles, because you see everything in courtroom battle. You would in fact see contracts being discussed in courtrooms, right? As to the interpretation of contracts. So I'll say courtroom.
Your favorite movie?
Keeps changing. Last I would have seen The Intern. I think there is a 75 years old person, and how he thought about doing internship at that age, right? And that's something which inspires me.
Wow. Yeah. Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Beautifully played the part, and Anne Hathaway both complemented each other in the. Yeah, it's a beautiful movie. Internship is not about age.
Yeah. So as we keep talking about adaptability, persistence, so these two are something, and that's why this is one of my best movies, and it's a very. I can watch it at any time.
Wow. Morning meetings or late night brainstorming?
I think morning meetings. That's when you are full of energy.
Wow. Best piece of advice you have received?
Never give up. Be persistent. So that's something which I always keep.
Wow. Tea or coffee?
I would say coffee.
Because you're the coffee show.
Yeah. Thank you.
So you did well, and here's your gift.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me on the show. It was in fact.
I'm coming. Summing up is there.
Okay.
And yes, been autographed.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Wait, let me keep.
Yeah.
So, friends, it was a lovely conversation having with Anand Narayan. How his goals are very clear. And now he's worked from manufacturing. Now he wants to go in at NSE. He wants to establish his career to reach being a general counsel. So that is what focus is all about. So all those young legal professionals out there, you should have focus where you want to reach in your career. So it's not only for legal professionals. So all those professionals out there, your objective should be well defined. What you want to achieve in your career. So this is the episode. Watch like this. There are over 400 plus coffee speakers who are sharing their insights, professional, personal, and their subject topics. So subscribe, you get inspired, implement in your lives, and if you want to be featured and have coffee conversation in person, visit our website, the Emerging India Forum, or LinkedIn company page, the Emerging India Forum. DM, a team will invite you to have coffee conversation. So take care. Thank you.